Hey, y'all, welcome back to Four Titles, One Truth.
Yeah.
I'm Lance.
Hey, what's up? You know, it's your boy Tommie over here. Now, look, today we're going to talk about something because we always talk about how much we love the military or how much it's done for us. But we're going to pull back the curtain a little bit about military life. We're going to talk about the parts that worked for us. We're going to talk about the parts that didn't work for us. And then we're going to just give some truths about the military and serving that we wish someone would have told us before we joined.
Right. Yep. So, hey, let's get into it, man.
Okay.
All
All right, let's talk about some myths versus reality.
Okay.
Before you joined, and because you did ROTC, let's talk about before when you signed up for ROTC and went to college, and then also talk about when you commissioned and was
afterwards.
actually serving. Okay.
Yeah.
So what did you think the Army would be? And then what did you learn fast that it wasn't?
Okay, so before knowing anything,
Right.
and again, like I said before, I didn't know anything about the Army. You know, I knew about a little bit about the Air Force because brother was in, father had been in. But as far as the Army goes, I was going off of MASH and Gomer Pyle, and I mean, you know, I'm thinking that it's a bunch of yelling, bunch of screaming, people running around that don't know what they, no direction or anything like that.
First Blood.
Yeah, First Blood, Rambo.
Rambo.
You know, I mean, all of those things were
Schwarzenegger.
just a bunch of just fighting all the time. So it was like, man, God,
Okay.
dog.
But you still did it.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
You know, not knowing that, you know, after I got into my ROTC, wasn't yelling and stuff all the time. People were organized, and then, you know, the longer that I'm in by the time I'm a sophomore, junior, in in ROTC, knowing that it's different jobs.
Yeah.
You know, knowing that people are not
Business
always.
to it.
Yeah, people aren't always in the field.
Yeah.
You know, knowing that with my my degree, I'm gonna be in a hospital. You know, just that type of stuff. It's not gonna be a MASH hospital either. It's gonna be a regular hard
job.
Yeah, you know, escape hospital. So yes, that's what that was my
before,
and then
now you in the military.
So being in the military now, it's a lot more. It was a lot more direction. It was a lot more. I mean, and this was the structure was something that, I mean, that evolved as the longer I stayed in, the longer I got up in rank, more responsibilities and things. You saw that changed also because you see where that's coming from. You know, that's coming from your leadership, coming from the top, and you still went out to the field, but when you went out to the field, still wasn't a whole lot of what you see on TV. What you know, I mean, people still smoking up a storm and
playing
people still
dominoes,
people spades, dominoes. You ain't sitting there drinking like you know you would see jokers out there drinking.
Well, that changed, because they used to do that for real.
Yeah. So we
it was way before us.
I didn't see all that. So I mean, it was some of the things were like, okay. I mean, it was a lot of regular things that you would see when people are out and they're relaxing, you know, or you know, they had their free time. But it was also things where it was like when we were out, you know, in, like I said again, you're in that field environment, field exercise, and we were deployed. Still, you had a job and you were doing, you know, about your business, and the discipline part of it wasn't somebody yelling at you about stuff. It was somebody saying, hey, we need such, you know, I mean, that with my experience of with that. So
okay. So, you know, I went straight to enlisted. So I'm like you, I'm about to date myself, but military experience I had was like Hogan's Heroes. We're talking Gomer Pyle. We're talking Rambo. We're talking the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. So I would just say that my first assumption, Well, I'm not even going to say first assumption. My idea of what the military was before I even thought about joining was everybody's infantry.
Well, everybody's special forces.
Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah.
special forces
Yeah.
infantry. Where it's like,
Yeah.
then the other folks that you would see there always had them looking like,
Yeah.
what's the
Like the Harlem
Keystone,
Globetrotters.
like the
Oh,
Keystone
yeah.
Capers. People
Yeah,
just
Keystone
running
Cops,
around. It's
yeah.
like, what's going on? Yeah,
Yeah, okay, I got you. And it's the same. I thought everybody was a killer.
yeah.
I thought everybody was, and he's 100% right. It was special forces, but now that I'm in, I know that they were all infantry, at some infantry level. So I thought everybody was a running shooter, right? And then when I first talked to a recruiter, that's when I learned that there are a whole bunch of different jobs, right? And so I was like, okay, so not everybody's that. And then my recruiter was like, needs of the Army is infantry, and saying that there's one job you can always get in the military, that's infantryman. So I started to learn that difference. So not everybody is Rambo. Then I joined, and what I learned after I joined very quickly, and I'll start in basic training, is that opposite of your course, your path, excuse me, that's all it was the first
It was a bunch
2
of
weeks, a
yelling.
bunch of yelling, a bunch of everything, and it wasn't a scary type of yelling. It was like you can't do this, blah blah blah. Basically it truly explained to me or showed me that there are consequences for your actions or lack of. Okay. Right. So that's what basic training really taught me.
Started that accountability.
Yeah,
thing.
and I've always had it because, like I said, I used to get whoopings like crazy. So I knew doing wrong lead to punishment. But you also learn that when you do right, you become in favor.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I learned that. And then I'll talk about when I went to AIT, advanced individual training. That's where you learn the specifics of your job on the enlisted side. That's when I started to realize that it's a completely different ball game than basic training, because you still had rules, you still had the formations, you still had the expectations of being a new soldier. Yeah, but it was a lot more relaxed, what I'm saying? You got to change into your civilian clothes. You couldn't go off post. You still had to be at that time as a Class Bs, but you started to feel like you were doing something. And then when I got to my first duty station, that's when I was like, hey, wait a minute, this is so I go to work, then I'm off, and I get to do what I want to do. I mean, I get my own. Well, I didn't have my own barracks room. I had roommates my first time. I had 2 other roommates my first duty station. But that's when I started to see that I started to understand that the military is just its own world.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But it's its own world with its own rules, but it's still life. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So you're not that separate. And we're talking about before deployments and all that stuff. It really felt in the beginning it was just a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
The only extra thing, because I joined in the early 90s, is that we were still Cold Warring it. So the only real hype, energetic things we got outside of our daily job was going to the field or doing these different training exercises. And so
but that was some folks' MOS. You had to go do that in order to really put hands on what you're doing and not just reading, going through the slides.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
You do your job every day, but when you go to the field, that's when people are evaluating you doing your job outside of the office or outside of wherever you're, the hospital or what have you. So, yeah, it was I learned very quickly that it was a job, but I also learned very quickly that it's a job that you held accountable for, and people are depending on you no matter what level you are.
I'm going to talk about some of the strengths versus the weaknesses.
Okay.
of being in the military or
Right.
the military. So where does the where does the military
Right. I
truly
got you.
shine? Structure, discipline, opportunity, and where does it consistently fall short? Talk about the bureaucracy, politics, how we treat the troops.
Okay. You and I had a special opportunity to witness the change in the military. That change came with the new war.
Yep.
But before we got involved in Iraq and Afghanistan, and terrorism specifically, it was a 9 to 5 job. Well, we did more before 9 a.m. because we did PT. But
Be
that,
surprised.
yeah, but that life there, it really focused on discipline. It focused on accountability because we had so many disciplinary rules, just like the barracks living. You know, when I first came in, we still had the green blankets. We still had to have the hospital corners. You know, we still had to have the display in our wall lockers, you know, to standard. We still had to have our shoes in order underneath our bunks. We still had to have our desk drawers staggered, you know, so there was real efforts, to focus on discipline, to try to make sure that you are at a certain level of discipline so that when you do, if you ever do go to war, remember we're talking Cold War time, you at least had the basics of discipline with so many practices
Yeah, I mean, that's reps.
to make.
I mean,
so
it's
many
the
reps,
It's the
better
reps.
word, so many reps, so that there was an understanding of your baseline of discipline.
Yep.
Right. Then you talk about the change. And when we started going to war, a lot of the disciplinary practices started to go out the window. Now, in the early years of the war, I was a drill sergeant. So I got to see the changes in doctrine when it came to discipline. I got to see it evolve and change.
Okay.
Because therefore, for a short time, discipline practices were gone because everybody was deploying and everybody was deploying back to back to back. And so they knew that they didn't want to burn out. You can't burn out the soldier by being super hard on them in garrison, which is in a peaceful environment in the States
And then put them in
or
a super
wherever they're
stressful-
stationed. Yeah. And then putting them in combat. And so there was I take it back. It wasn't doctrine, but it was leadership's decision because the Army on paper was still the same, but it was leadership decisions to pull back on the stress when they're not deployed.
Okay.
And what that meant some barracks practices of discipline were so relaxed that it was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, because it was, remember, we came from Cold War, and now all of a sudden there were orders at certain places where you couldn't even go into barracks anymore as a leader because they would make it once a month instead of you being able to do weekly inspections.
Yeah.
There was a time where a squad leader could be in there a certain amount of days during the week, where a platoon sergeant could only be in there certain times a month, and the first sergeant could only go in, you know. So it was crazy, and I'm sure it was different all around the military. I'm just talking about where I was at that moment. So that was very disappointing to me because I was always one of those soldiers, and I still believe it today. The more practices of discipline that you can give your soldiers, the more likely they'll perform to standard.
Because it'll bleed over into your work
absolutely,
environment.
because
I mean,
it
the
becomes
way
a
that you
norm.
living, if you living all nasty and
Yeah.
stuff, you're going to come to work.
Yeah.
Or when you deploy,
You're gonna
when
be
you living
nasty
closer,
deployed.
you're going to have upset
Rats
somebody else
and-
because you, So, I
'Cause
mean,
you're sloppy.
yes. I
Yeah.
mean, you got, that's something that,
And so when I was on the trail, I had so many debates and discussions and even arguments with so many other different leaders. I was a sergeant first class on the trail. And, I didn't think that it should be the same way it was when I was in basic, because I do believe in the evolution of practices. But I did feel like, for instance, when they got rid of the woodland BDUs, right? And then they came in with the new ACUs, Army Combat Uniform, versus the battle dress uniform, BDUs. The ACU uniform, the first one they introduced, the rule was wash and wear. So that meant no ironing, no starching, so that meant that the soldiers going to start looking a different way than what we had trained them to be.
They look sloppy. That's
because now I don't have to get up early to prep because I just pull it out the wash, right?
Out the basket.
Yeah.
Some of them, that's what they look like they came out of.
And then they got rid of the leather boots, where you had to polish them for formation, and you were held accountable for that. You could get counseled on it, and now they came up with the suede-like boot, to where they were just supposed to be clean looking, right? Yep. And so, and during that time in that war, like I said, people's leaderships, there were leadership decisions to not push the effort, you know what I'm saying? Like, you still want to present yourself as a soldier.
Yeah.
You still want to.
It's just, that don't get me on that talking about the boots, because you have folks that would have been deployed, were deployed, boots beat to hell, and they come back into garrison wearing those. And it's like, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what are you? I know you got some more.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It was if they left you in the hospital and you put that force on them, right? Imagine how they felt when it came to me. But if they went to somebody else, there could have been somebody say, "Well, don't worry about it."
Well, it's a lot
that's
of
what
folks
I'm saying.
That had that attitude.
And that's the thing. It was leadership decisions. And if you step back, you can sort of see how they could think that would work. But I can't for the life of me see how some of them made that decision, because it is no more stress on a soldier holding them accountable for how they maintain their barracks, how much they how they present themselves.
Some stuff I understand, because it's like, who's making up their bed every morning with hospital corners that aren't in basic or something like that?
I did for a long time.
Woo!
Yeah, the BOSS program did not take over in the United States until 93. So I was 2 years in. No, I mean, you had to.
Man.
Because I'm telling you, my first duty station was at Fort Riley.
So at your first duty station, you
could not leave your room
without.
I would tell you the standards that we had in the Big Red One when I first joined the military, active duty, right? When I got out of training and went to my first duty station at Fort Riley in 1991, the standard for my barracks room every morning had to be, it was a tile floor, and we had 3 people in my room with 1 bathroom in there. So we didn't have the we call them the group bathroom,
the
community bathroom. Yeah. But every morning our floor had to be swept, mopped, and buffed every morning. Our beds had to be hospital corners because supplies still issued. We never washed our blankets or our sheets because we still turned them into supply.
Just went and got your stack.
We had to do that once a week. And then our boots, our PT shoes, and our flip-flops had to be in order. And anything else additionally you had to be behind your shoes underneath your bed, right? That ain't it. Our wall lockers, we had to have our dress uniform on the right. Then you had
this is your first, this is not in basic, not in AIT.
This is my first duty station. Absolutely. and we had to have our dress uniform. Then we had our battle dress uniform, the uniform, camouflage uniform we wore every day. Then we had our PTs broken down, our physical training uniform broken down by winter and summer. And then we had, then you had to have a space. And then on the left could be your civilian clothes.
I was going to say, where'd you put your civilian
Could be on the
clothes?
civilian clothes, but most of the time it had to be, you'd keep it in a suitcase or something underneath your bed. I'm telling you, man. And then that ain't it. Our wall locker drawers had to be staggered, and well, not staggered when it was closed, but when it was open for any inspection. The top drawer was our utility drawer. Then our second drawer was undergarments, underwear, t-shirts, and socks. And then our last was what was our last?
When you had to keep it like that just because
You
didn't
always
know
had
when
to
they
be-
were going to come in and do
inspections
a
were always. I'm talking squad leaders came in at least 3 times a week. Platoon sergeant came in at least once a week. First sergeant came in at least once or twice a month. And on the training calendar, you had room inspections. So that's how it started.
Okay.
And that's why it was hard for me, because I knew the value of it
Yeah.
for me. And then it was hard for me to see, because even when the BOSS program came to the U.S., when I was there was people that was like, the Army's going to crap. You know, what is this? You know. But yeah, man, that was the real way you had to do it. So the military shined for me when it comes to discipline, and it still shined while I served, because the whole point was there should be a legitimate difference between a civilian and a soldier.
Yes, absolutely.
It should be.
Yeah.
And you should be able to see it, you know, not just the way you cut your hair,
You should
the way you
hold
carry
yourself
yourself.
to a higher standard. I mean, you should get into that mindset.
100%.
So, yeah.
So that's one thing. Another thing is, it is a great opportunity for a young person to grow up quickly. You know what I'm saying? If college is not your way immediately,
Yep.
because another thing you should know, you join the military, that don't mean college is over. When you join the military, everybody's going to tell you to get some college.
Yep.
And then tell you get
Get
a
a
degree.
degree.
Yep. And then tell you, since you're there, get another degree, a degree or whatever. So just because you join the military doesn't mean that you're not taking a college path. It just means you may delay it. And it's an opportunity for those who don't quite have an idea of what they want to be in life. It's an opportunity to give them a
Learn a skill.
fire hydrant.
Yeah, I mean, you learn a skill.
On
I mean,
life.
just a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and introduce you to life, to credit,
Yep.
to being away from home, to relationships, to discipline in the workplace. So there's a lot of value there. So
Yep.
that's where I think it truly shines. Now on the other end, where I think it, I'll go by when I was in, and then I'll go to now, right? So when I was in, a thing that the military just did not do right, or did not get right, was its efforts to rehab some soldiers, right? There are some soldiers, well, just like in every life, right? There are people who have genes or have examples or whatever, and they may not quite as quickly as some others get that stuff settled, right? So you get a kid that comes in that's doing drugs, and just because they passed the drug test to get into the military, you know, you murder them. What I mean, you end their career and you kick them out of the military for drugs, and I'm not talking about a drug habit that's going to make you psychedelic and kill people. I'm talking about when it was weed. I'm talking about when, so that, to me, there were some times where, yes, as a command, you can fight for them, but sometimes if you're not supported by your higher command, you're just. And some people look at it as you're siding with the enemy.
Yeah, well, I mean,
You know?
some of that was a double standard.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I can tell you, I knew some officers.
Don't get me started
that
on that.
DUIs. I mean, a whole bunch
Don't
of
get
like
me started on
silliness stuff that.
Especially back then, because it was who you knew, who
Yep.
could protect you and who
Yep.
could take care of you, and
Yep.
that was another thing. Because I learned that when I was a brigade first sergeant, that there is a tendency for senior leadership to not treat the enlisted mistakes the same way that they treat the officer mistakes, and I've had plenty of arguments about that. So I agree, but there were some of the policies that I just didn't agree with. The same thing with family care plan. I understand the reasoning behind it, but you have some people that are joining the military and don't have family. And then they mess around and get married, have a baby, and then get divorced, right? And now all of a sudden, they can't come up with the perfect family care plan, and now you're going to kick them out the military.
Yeah, drive me
And
nuts.
so the family care plan, for those that don't know, the family care plan is something you need to have in place it's a plan to make sure that your kids are
Your
taken
home,
care
all
of,
of
your
that
home,
stuff, yeah.
are taken care of when you deploy, whether it be to training or whether it be to actual combat. And so those are a couple of things that I know I was long-winded on that, but those really touched me on that one.
No.
What about you?
I agree. I mean, it's hard to disagree or expand. I mean, because it's the structure and the discipline that you learn, especially when you go in as a young person, whether it's 18 or 22, and have gone to college already. It's a different type of discipline that you learn, that you benefit from,
100%.
that can take you, take you to higher places. It can help you to achieve some of those goals that you might not have been able to do, achieve before, just because you have the discipline to either stick in.
Because you learned how to be self-sufficient.
So that is absolutely one of the, for me, for you, I mean, it's the strengths. I mean, the weaknesses are the lack of consistency, because I feel like that's what you're saying when you're talking about the way that they treat this person one way or treat this person another way, or you don't take into account, it's like, this is person's first time. Other than this person has been a stellar soldier or officers or whatever. It's that type of thing where it's like, okay, we got to try to take some common sense stuff into it, and looking at what the offense was also. Because it's
I can tell you, I got taken care of a couple times. Because I've gotten into fights, just all kinds of little stupid stuff. And if it wasn't for somebody in the command, not just putting their neck out for me, but convincing their leaders that this person doesn't deserve that, then you're done. And the sad part is, not everybody gives off that. It's like, say for instance, it's Private Jones and you're the company commander. You ain't really had a chance to get to know. So if my squad leader ain't standing up for me 10 toes down, and my platoon sergeant ain't, why would a company commander? Why would a first sergeant? And so that's where the counseling we've talked about and real leadership comes in. And sometimes it's lost because leadership is not a you can't expect everybody in the military to lead the way the military says you should. I'm talking about a minimum. So, but now,
and see,
I'll let you go first on this one.
So now,
Post-military and the new administration,
the amount of politics that are being introduced or forced upon the bureaucracy, all of those things are being introduced, and it's causing more, to me, it's causing more separation and infighting and things like that, because I don't. I mean, even if you knew that other folks could be voting for a different political party or whatever when we were in, but it didn't affect
No, you
what
did
we're
what you
doing
had
in
to
our
do.
job.
Yeah.
And like now, when you
It's
turn on the
clearly
news,
sides.
you turn on the news and you see jokers being. I mean, and some of them might not want to, but they're being directed to
stand
behind
on
and
TV,
cheer
yeah.
and do all of this stuff. Where it's like before, you didn't have to.
The military is not supposed to.
No, you weren't picking sides
No,
and
you follow
going.
orders.
I mean, yeah,
Yep.
I mean, so.
Yeah.
That piece of it now is absolutely a weakness because all it is it's going to cause is more fighting, more, especially with some younger.
Even the old.
So
joke,
and some older ones. I mean, the idea that we can say that now, even if if they were that before, if they were that now, they're going to think
free.
they have a green light to go crazy,
be a
act
disgusting
silly.
person, who
Yes,
shouldn't,
and
who's supposed to be a team member.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's So that piece of it now is just it's just eroding away what
The standard,
made us
man.
made us different
Made
from
the military,
others, made us unique.
Made us an example of society instead of the
it's
garbage.
just like the rest of
Because I'm gonna tell you this, right? Don't think for a second that the fighting and the sides that are being chosen in the civilian world, don't think for a second that the same thing ain't happening in the military. So right now, you have MAGA people in the military, you have Republicans in the military, and you have Democrats, and then you have people who aren't on any side but are choosing their path based on what they feel benefits the family, the country, and all that stuff. Don't think that they're not fighting the same way it's fighting here, because you can't even. How can you control a unit now to the standard that you need to control it? Because remember, we're not in wartime right now. And when I say we're not in wartime, I'm talking about where the majority of the force has to plan, prepare, and then go to war. We're not in that moment right now. So you have a little leeway as a command team at whatever level you are to not get involved in that type of stuff.
right.
Because soldiers are working their daily shift and then going home and being whatever. Now, you're supposed to follow and make sure that your soldiers, that's the whole point of the hierarchy of leadership. You're supposed to make sure your soldiers understand that there's an army way or a military way, and that's the way we focus on.
That's the acceptable
But when
way.
you're not going to combat and you don't have that Cold War forced discipline patterns and standards, now people get to go get online. They get to go to TikTok, Instagram, whatever. You may not know what that soldier is or what that service member is or how much trouble they're causing within your own unit or your own daggone team.
And granted, understand that stuff is a lot harder now because we didn't have all of the social media. I mean, really, even all of the computer. I mean, all of the things that are on the computer because we didn't have access to a lot of that till
it was
later on. It wasn't like it
forced
is now.
isolation. Now it's isolation.
Yep.
And we didn't have to deal with all that stuff because we still had classes. We still had, team building exercises that didn't have to fight with Instagram, TikTok, and all these other people's opinions that are being brought out.
What they're seeing on the news and seeing what their leaders that are supposed to be our leaders, the way that they're acting and things that are so opposite of what we have tried to teach them, bestow on them. So it's a difficult time for
trying time.
For leaders out
and
there.
I will say this as well: the administration and all of its elements are not doing anything to help the military maintain that discipline and maintain that focus that separates them from the civilian world. You got leadership that's in charge of the military right now who's completely not talented enough, not skilled enough, but running the force. So you have that as the top leader throwing out whatever the administration wants, and the administration, you used to be able to look at your wall, your chain of command wall, and see with the president, you could see honor, you could see pride, and whether their politics were different or not, you could still feel whether, no matter what your affiliation was, you used to be able to feel that everything was in sync. But now you could look at your company command team and then look at the president, and you could say they are on two different sheets of music, or a battalion or whatever, and that causes real problems when you're team building.
Well, that's because it feels like, or it looks like that when you're in the military. I mean, you're constantly you're taught to evolve and change and adapt.
Yeah.
You know, to whatever the situation, the times, the generation that's coming up, and it looks like, is that the administration that's in now is trying to take us back to a time. And it's like, we already been there and done that. Yeah. That's not going to be effective for what that got us to being the most lethal force on the planet. And I mean, that's not going to, it's things that they're doing.
Evolution only
that's taking us
forward.
back, you know. So, I mean, but
that's a whole nother conversation, but no, I get it. It just seems like, it's like you said, I'll leave it at this. Like Lance said, I, without a doubt, believe that it's harder to be a leader now than it was when we were in. And the sad part is that was only a few years ago.
That's so.
Yeah. All right. So the human cost, all right? What's the hardest reality people outside of the military don't fully understand?
Probably I would say the family strain.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's a different, I mean, deployments, I mean, and I was lucky, you were lucky enough, I was lucky enough to have a spouse that was also in, that understood what was going on. So I could not even imagine if I was married to someone that didn't.
Had no clue. The same clue we had before we joined.
Had no clue.
Movies.
Didn't understand, you know, because you know, when you're in and you're a soldier, I mean, you know, like, you're committed, because that's a commitment that you make whenever you do come into the military, because we're not getting drafted or anything like that. This is, we chose to come in, raise our hand and come in and do this. So when we have to do the deployments, when we have to do like
it's not a choice.
Field training exercise, things that we have to do, we said, yep, that's what I'm gonna do. And so it's extremely hard to try to, you know, and then you have a family, kids, wife, or just a wife, or you don't want to disappoint them either, but it's like, this is my job, you know. You try to get them to understand that. So, I mean, in that piece, because if your family is upset, not doing good, you're not going to be, I mean, you're not going to be good to anybody, because you make a mistake, just attitude, just all of that stuff. So for me, probably first and foremost be like that family strain piece, because your kids don't understand. Like for me, wife understood, kids don't understand. They don't, they're like, and to hurt them or to break them, that's just, that will break you, where it's like, oh my God, you know.
And then
so
you
still
try got a job to do.
So you try to keep them, keep your kids as informed and reassured as you can. And I think now it's a lot better now because of the technology, where they can actually stay a little bit more in touch, you know, with them than what it was back in the day. So for me, it probably that family strain that came from the deployments, that came from the being on call and having to go back in, or not coming home, you know, time to see somebody before they went to bed, or that
miss a
type of
play
thing.
or
Yeah, because
something.
I mean, because you feel guilty about that stuff.
Absolutely.
Like, God, what did I?
Absolutely.
But so that was that was it for me. It's just the commitment that you make, and that was, again, that was on me, because I always tell folks, like, I chose this, especially when people say, thank you for your service, or or you thank you for doing what you're doing. It's like, no, I chose to do, that was my choice to do that. So I'm
It's a job I chose.
a big boy enough to take on,
Yeah.
the responsibilities of that and the consequences of that. So, but that's what I wanted to do. So, so that was
So I agree with
my
you,
2 cents.
but I will take it a little step further.
Of course you will.
I didn't understand, and I don't think the civilian world understands how much your military allegiance and your family allegiance fight each other.
Mm-hmm.
When you raise your right hand and join the military, you're saying that the military is the most important thing in your life. And then you get married, or you're married now, and then you have kids, or you have kids now. So when that phone rings, your number one obligation is to answering that phone and reacting to whatever is told from the military side. But at the same time, your kid could be in the hospital. Your wife could be going through something.
You could be pregnant and in labor or something.
And you still have to execute. So I don't think that a lot of people understand that aren't in the service is how much you have to figure out how to maneuver by keeping the military number one and your family 1A.
Yep.
Because they're always in conflict with always.
It's mental toughness, man. I mean, it's a lot of that. It's a lot of mental things. That's why we have a lot of folks that, whenever they do finally retire,
They're
get
mentally
out, do whatever,
exhausted.
that are just like,
Yeah. Because now you don't have that demanded on paper, raise my hand, sign my name obligation. Now it's your emotional and your human side of obligation. And some people, it's I'm gonna tell you, it was hard for me, but I had the
support.
no, I had the opportunity, because I don't want to say luxury, but because of COVID, it forced me to slow down.
Right.
And so I had, like, when we got that COVID call where I was stationed in Virginia, we stayed home for 2 weeks straight. Didn't go to the office and went to Zoom, right? And so every day it was me and Nikki in the house together. So I had an opportunity to see her again. She had an opportunity to see me in her domain, because I would leave the house and she was there all day. Now I am sort of in her way, you know what I'm saying? And so we had the opportunity, that's just how I call it, even though COVID was horrible, we had the opportunity to be in each other's space again,
Right.
and then make sure we liked each other involuntarily, because you assume everything's perfect because you get so caught up. Remember, we're talking a 30-year tradition of me waking up, going to the fight, and then coming home, and then eventually having a kid, and then eventually getting married, and adjusting as a senior leader to that stuff, and her the same way, and us having to forced to find out about each other. And then, because there are a lot of relationships that didn't survive COVID, and we were just blessed to be one of the one that did. So
That's good.
that's really hard, but that's how it showed up in my life, because when you have to consistently make the decision of military or family first, that can exhaust you. It can wear you out. It can mess up your relationship with your
yeah.
kids, with your wife, whatever, even with your parents. Because if they're not military minded, then you have to try to explain it to get them in some type of mindset that'll give you some relief, and not everybody's willing to do that, either explain it or be receptive to the explanation. So yeah, it's that's a fight for real.
Yep. All right. So, what's one thing leaders could improve tomorrow that would make soldiers' lives better? And why does it seem to never change?
It's simple for me. Leaders lead. It's really that simple. Unfortunately, you have leaders at all different levels, right? And what I mean by that is you can be a leader, but you can be level 1 leader. You just do the minimal requirements, or you can be a leader that's at level 5. 1 through 5 is my number. And 1 through 5 who actually cares, who actually puts in the work, puts in the time to understand their job, to understand their role, and then to understand their subordinates,
folks,
and understand what's expected of them by there's so much to it. And when you get those type of leaders, if we could get more level 3 to 5 across the military, military would be easy.
Yep.
And what I mean by easy is you go to war and come back with more people because everybody's locked in on expectations.
Right.
And when you're not in war, you'd have less drug use, you'd have less divorces, you'd have less alcohol use, less physical abuse, less stupidity, because an engaged leader cancels out most of the problems you can have.
Discipline, that structure.
Yep. So that's my answer. What about you?
That accountability. I mean, and that's what I think that's what you're saying right there, is an accountable leader who's going to not look at that.
Who's going to teach accountability? Be accountable and teach accountability.
That 1 and 2 leader, I think, is someone who is really looking at out for themselves. Not worried about
this is temporary.
Are always giving all of the responsibility to one of their
blame
lower, the blame, all of that to somebody else, and that's like, you in charge, you the one supposed to be enforcing it.
If they fail, it's on you.
Yep. So absolutely. I mean, I think it's the accountability thing. I mean, because you have some that just won't own up to it, or you have a lot of them that are just yes mans or
don't they for some reason they don't understand the value of it, and by not understanding the value, they put other things in front of it. You know what I'm saying? Like understanding how important it is to mold and establish not just back to the Army way, right? If the 4-star general in charge of the military, if that 4-star general sets the standard, right, of what should be followed, and mind you, that 4-star general should only be preaching the military standard, right? And then encouraging or focusing on what or adding importance to certain elements that they feel could help develop the force, right? And if that is taken and then turned around and preached all the way down, and then all the way down they're holding people accountable to those standards, then it would be that way. Yep. But there are, say for instance, because say for instance, we'll just do a basic company, right? We'll say 4 squad leaders per platoon. We'll say 4 platoons. So that's 16 junior leaders. Then you have 4 times 2, because you have the platoon sergeants and the platoon leaders, right? So that's 8. So now we're at 24. And then you have company commander, XO, and first sergeant, right? So that's 27 leaders in established, written in doctrine leaders in this unit. I'm telling you, you'd be lucky to have 50% of them level 3 to 5, because there's going to be some people, like you said, that only care about themselves. There's going to be some people who are in positions that don't know what to do. There's going to be some people who also, like you said, are not being held accountable, so they're not turning around holding
Where do you
other
think
people.
that's coming from now, though?
It's
I mean, because I think I felt like it was. I saw that more as I was, come to the latter part of my career than at the beginning of my career. And I saw some of it at the beginning and middle of my career, but it wasn't as prevalent as what I was seeing it at the latter, because I would be frustrated.
Yeah.
With things. It's like, because my whole thing was like, if I have to come all the way down there to tell you how to do some of these things, or to direct some of these things, I don't need you there. That's for true. What your rank and experience and all of that is telling me in the position that you're in, is telling me that you should be doing, so.
But it goes back to accountability, man. It goes back to,
That's true.
If I'm the first sergeant, my job is to develop and mold everybody in that company.
Yeah.
That's my job,
Okay.
right? I'm talking from the company commander, I'm talking to XO down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if the first sergeant isn't involved and isn't engaged and isn't maintaining a standard, who else will, right? Now, the 50% thing is there may be a platoon sergeant that has taken on that weight and is on their platoon and doing what's supposed to do and trying to spread that expectation, that standard out there. But then you got 3 other platoon sergeants who aren't holding up to that. So it's all about, my honest opinion from my experience, I think it's buy-in, man. If you can't convince somebody, can't convince somebody how serious it is to be a leader and how important their role of a leader is, and not allow them to give you 1,000 excuses, but hold them accountable and then evaluate them based off of what your expectations are and what you set for them, and then hold them to that. Then it's never going to be.
Yeah, that buy-in is super important when it comes to any change.
Absolutely.
Too. So,
and it has to be buy-in from the senior leaders of that element.
Right.
And those senior leaders of that element, their energy has to push that down to the lower levels. And so it's a thing, man. Yeah. And that's a forever conversation as well.
I mean.
But the thing is, man,
a lot of different things you can hit off of that.
Yeah, but the thing is, some units have it. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like they say about the civilian workers on the roads. Mm-hmm. You look at it, there's always one person working their butt off, and then there's either one person helping them or everybody standing around. And that one person that's doing something, that's the people who are bought in, whether it's because they've been ordered to do that or whatever. And the people who are standing around not doing anything, those are the people, the 1 and 2 level leaders, you know what I'm saying? Because if you're the senior supervisor, why are you on that spot standing there the whole time and not going and checking other things? You know what I'm saying? And if you're the lowest man on the totem pole, you don't know exactly what to do. So why isn't the next lowest person standing over you and helping you, or tapping you out and saying, I got that.
I got it.
So there's a whole bunch to it, man. Like I said, we go on and on. All right. So now we're going to bring out the we ain't there yet, but the grandfather advice. The older father's advice. Okay. To the next generation. If a young person asked, I'm not going to say is the military perfect, because that's not correct. If a young person asked you, it's me and you talking right now, if a young person said, should I join the military?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Before you say yes, though, what would qualify your yes to them? I mean, how would you say, here's why?
Oh, the opportunities that you get. Whether you're coming in from straight to enlisted, right out of high school, or if you're coming in after you've been went through college and whatever
Or-
your profession is or
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, I can tell you, speak from the standpoint of coming in as a officer,
Okay.
a nurse,
Okay.
coming in as a nurse
Okay.
into the thing, the opportunities I had, to some of the skills and things that I learned, and were able to actually go out and do and perform, and
Right.
being in the military.
Learn and master.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that on
Right.
the outside. I mean, they
Right.
would have been too worried about, oh, you need to go. I mean, go to that bedside, go to that bedside, just do that, just do that. I mean, instead of, I was still at the bedside doing a lot of stuff, but I was also learning how to manage,
Yeah.
and how to be a leader.
The levels
that,
above you.
yeah, learning that to see, okay, so
Yeah.
this is why we should do this, because this makes us more efficient to make your area. I mean, so it's that that piece for me, and I can tell you that as far as a young person coming straight in, I mean, you don't know how to do anything. I mean, it's a skill that you learn. It's the benefits and things that you get from just
Yeah.
coming in, doing
Being there.
doing a stint, you
Yeah.
know, and being able to go, okay, yeah, I want to go to, I think I want to do college now, where you got something to help you
Yeah.
start off to, to pay for that piece.
Yeah.
Or if it's a job or something that you were doing in the, and you're like, man, I want to,
Get
build
better at
on
this,
this.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get certified, get my degree in it. So you have that. I mean, you're at an advantage when you're going into school, because you have real world
you got a heck of a
experience and
foundation.
knowledge. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you got. So that piece of it, and then what we talked about earlier, just the structure, the discipline. I mean, all of those things that you learn
And need.
will take. Yeah, I mean, that's life. Will take you through life and make it help you to be able to cope with a lot of things that life brings, because life is not always an easy place. I mean, it's a lot of stressors out there that can take you out. So,
Agreed.
yep.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
The same thing. I would say there's two things. There's one of two things you should do when you graduate high school.
What's that?
You should either go to school,
Yep.
or you should, or trade school, or any
Yeah,
type
get
of
a job,
school,
'cause
continuing education, right? Or join the military.
Yep.
And the reason I say that is because everything you just said, it gives you such a foundation of understanding that puts you ahead of the person who never served.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you discipline. It gives you maturity. It gives you capabilities to deal with people and techniques to deal with people, and it introduces you to leadership immediately. Because even the lowest soldier in the military understands the basics of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, and then what you learn coming in, because you're at the bottom of the totem.
totem
You learn
pole.
how to you learn how to follow,
and
so you got to
fall.
learn how to
fall
fall too. Yep.
And you have somebody there that, like, for instance, if you go to college, you're on your own unless you somehow have developed a heck of a
Support chain.
support chain at that school, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the military, the expectation is you have somebody to help you crawl, walk, and then run.
Mm-hmm.
You have somebody at every level you advance to, from smallest to lowest. You have somebody giving you wisdom, giving you feedback, and developing you to be more successful.
Well, like, you can fall, but somebody's there to pick you
Absolutely.
up
Catch
to say, hey,
you
get on back
before
up
you
here. This is
fall.
what you need
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah,
And so
somebody's building you. I mean, you can fall, but you're always being built up.
Yeah.
They're always being built
Agreed.
up. Yeah.
And so that would be my advice. Either go to college or go to military.
Yep.
If you go to the military, these are the benefits, right? What we talked about, discipline, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to school, you still have the ability to learn because you're on your own. You're accountable for you, right? And you still have to establish some sort of discipline. So those are the only two pathways I think you should
Start
have
some
coming
good
out of
work
school.
habits.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you can go ROTC
Yep.
that can, while you're in college, give you the stuff that we're talking about now. And then join the military or go on about your life.
Go do what
So
you got to
there's
do. Yep.
yeah, so there's
It's a lot of good benefits, a lot of good
Absolutely.
benefits into doing it.
just
so.
don't, no matter what anybody tells you, don't finish with college and then just wait to do something. Make a decision to do something.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So the uniform can shape you in powerful ways, but you got to walk in the eyes with you got to walk with your eyes open.
Yeah, in the eye,
Yep,
with your eyes
and
open.
plan beyond all the hype.
Yeah, and I promise you this is something that I know Lance has had a conversation with his kids about, and we've had it. The success that people see us with now, it didn't come easy. We worked our butts off so that we can be in a position now to enjoy life.
Yep.
And if you're not willing to buy into your dream and then put your energy towards that dream, then once you get to our age, you're going to figure out that you left some energy on the table.
Yeah, you don't want to feel like you left
Coulda,
something
shoulda,
behind
woulda,
that I coulda-
yeah.
I mean, because still sometimes it's like, man, I wonder if I think you're always going to have that. Man, I wish I would have done that different. I wish I would have.
Without
But
a
it's
doubt.
but it's the way that you did it, and,
Yeah.
and again, what you said in the last piece about you fall, but you get picked back. I mean, so it's like I wish I would have did it that way the first time.
Yeah.
Instead of coming
Yeah.
back. But I mean, it's all good.
But we can both tell you that we put in the time, we put in the effort. We may have fallen short of some of our goals, but we are in a much better place now than we were before we started.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you all for joining us
Yes.
for this episode of 4 Titles, 1 Truth.
Yeah. And now we want to hear from you. What's one hard truth about military life that you wish you'd heard before joining? And we already told you ours, because it's never what you think it is. I don't care how much of a legacy of people serving you have. You can learn more by legacy, but you still have to. A private's a private, no matter what.
So check in with us on all social media platforms at 4 Titles, 1 Truth.
Or watch us on YouTube. We be on there at
be
4
on
Titles, 1 Truth.
And so y'all join us next time.
And what we going to do?
We're going to keep the conversation going.
All
All right, y'all.
Holla.
All right.